Okay, it is time for us to start sending the email. And now how this going to work? First of all, we have to first create a new file within the accounts folder. So you can say mail underscore send.py within the same apps as accounts. Now in this file, let's make a couple of inputs. First, let's import strings. Let's import random. Then from Django that core mail import send mail, and from Django.config import settings from Django.contrib of import models import user. Then the last input will be from dot models import send code. Remember, we created a model called send code. Now let's define a function, and we name this email confirmation code, for example, right? Or you can name this however you want to name it. Okay, let's name it email confirmation. Now this function takes in a request, it takes email to, and we pass in the user, and we pass in a password. Now create a variable called charts, which is basically characters. Set it equal to an empty string. Say join, then you pass in the screens dot digits, screen.digits. Now you create another variable for the code. So for the confirmation code, you can say config, for example, config code equal to an empty string that join, and then you pass in random choice. Then you say charts, which is we basically trying to randomize this digits that you're getting from the screen. So this variable charts is about to be like randomized by this variable. So now we can loop, say underscore, for underscore in the range, you're trying to get a range of 6. So we basically need like 6-digit confirmation code to be sent to the user. Now the next thing will be create another variable for actually saving this code that is generated in the models, right? So we say code that send models objects dot filter by the user, request dot user. And now you can create the actual code by saying dot create, and then we say send code. We assign it to config code. So what this doing is that it was actually create the code. This logic is basically trying to create the code, right? So what we did was we defined this. We set up a variable called charts, basically means characters. Now strings has something called digits, and it's basically from 0 to 9. Then we also create another variable called config code. So this config code variable is basically for randomization, for randomizing this character, which is basically digits. Then we loop to it and we access the range of 6. Now we create another variable called code, and we set it equal to the models, and then we filter where the user is equal to the request, and then we create this code and assign it to this config code that was randomized. Now the next step will be code dot user equal to the request user, and now we can save this within the database. Now the next step will be sending the email. So how this work is, we create another variable that contains the body of the email. So you can say content, you can name this body or content, however you want to name this. So you can say hello, then maybe you can pass in the username, and then you can say thanks. Here's just the body of the message. Thanks for signing up on our site. And then you can pass in the verification. You can say verification code is equal to verification code will be equal to this config code. Sorry, it's equal to config code. Now we just break the line. So that is the body of the message. Now you can add as many things you want to add there. So that's basically the body of the message. Then now we about to send the email. So we import this send mail. Remember we say from Django that core mail import send mail. So we just pass in that class, and then we can pass in the subject of the mail. So you can say email confirmation code. You can say email confirmation code. So you can say this is the subject. This is the subject of the mail, and then since we already created the body as a variable, you can just pass in the content. Then we can pass in the user who's actually sending the email. In this case, the email is coming directly from me. So I'm accessing. Remember when we first created the settings, we created email host user, and this email host user is basically your email account. So settings is basically accessing that email. So this is from you, it's coming from you. And the next step would be passing in the user who's actually receiving the mail, the recipients. So you can say give a class, not class, but a list, and you pass in this user right here. So you say list plus the username. Then last would be filled silently equal to false. So that is how we send email with Django. Pretty much straightforward. So we say send mail, and we pass in the subject of the mail, we pass in the body of the mail, and then we pass in the person who actually sending the email, and then the recipient, the person that receiving the email. So we can say to. This is the person that the mail is going to, and this person is basically this parameter that was passed within this function, this user. So this is this user that we actually sending the email to. So the next step would be to go into the views and then make that import. So you can say from mail underscore send, we can import email confirmation. Now how this going to work, remember the way how the whole email confirmation thing work is that somebody has to try to create an account. So you must firstly have your registration logic in place. So let me just go over what I did. I have my form. I created a form. I check if this form is valid. I set up a username, form claim data, username, the password, the email, and also I set the password, and then I save the user. And then I create another variable called user and equal to authenticate. Then I pass in the user. Remember, I'm using the custom Django user class. So in order for you to log in, you have to log in with the username and your password. Then I make a couple of checks here. So if user is not known, then this user is active. Then I pass in this login. Remember, login takes in request, and also you pass in this user that is making a request. So right after you log the user in, that is when you can enter in this. Then that is when you can send the email. So you can say email confirmation. This function that was created, you pass in your function, you pass in the username, you pass in the email, and also the password. So that is basically how this is going to work. So now let's try to test this and see if the email will actually be sent. So let's run my server by saying python manage .py run server. Let's see if we get an error. Let's wait. Okay, it seems to be working fine. Now let's go to the browser and try to sign in. Okay, so let me try signing in with a new user. So I can say @Mitch, this is my name, Mitch, passing my email, and then I just my password, enter my password, right? So if I submit, I should receive an email. I should send me an email. Now it's loading. It's loading. As you can see, boom, the email was sent. You see, congratulations, we have sent your code to your email address, Michelle Sherman at 01@gmail.com. Please follow. So now what you have to do, just go to your Gmail account, and then you'll see the email. After you get the email, the next step will be verifying the email. That will be the next step we'll work on. But first, let's see if the email came true. Let's see if the email came true. And if it did, then we are good to go. So from this message, you can tell that this email actually went through, because you see programs runs according to line. So after this was executed, then the next one was to return to this verification message, basically telling you that an email has been sent. So you can tell that this email has been sent to my account. So let's just verify to see if the email actually came. So as you can see here, now you see this is the subject, right? Remember we passed in this subject. If we go back in the send mail, we say this is the subject, and the body plus the sender, the person who's actually sending the mail, and the recipients, the person that the mail is actually going to. So now if you look here, you can see the same thing. You see the subject. If you click on this mail, this is the same thing that we define. So this is the verification code. Now all you can do is you can copy this code and then go back to your application and click on verify account and enter the code. Once the code is valid, then you have access to login. That will be the next step we'll work on. So if you guys are enjoying the video, please don't forget to subscribe, and also please like this video, and thank you guys for watching.